Wait, before we even start talking about Jessica Radcliffe and what happened at Triton's Crest in 1995, I need to stop you right there. Because what I'm about to tell you is going to completely blow your mind and make you question everything you think you know about viral stories on the internet. You've probably seen the clips. Maybe you stumbled across them on TikTok, or someone sent you a grainy YouTube video with a clickbait thumbnail showing a woman being chased by a massive orca. The comments are going absolutely wild. Some people swearing it's real footage, others calling it the most elaborate fake they've ever seen. But here's the thing that's going to shock you. Jessica Radcliffe never existed. Triton's Crest was never a real marine park, and that terrifying orca attack that's been circulating online, it's all from a video game. But hold on, because this story gets so much deeper and more twisted than you could ever imagine. We're about to dive into one of the most sophisticated pieces of digital storytelling ever created, and how it fooled millions of people into believing they were watching real disaster footage. This isn't just about fake news. This is about how our brains are wired to believe stories that feel emotionally real, even when logic should tell us otherwise. So buckle up, because we're going into the rabbit hole of Half-Life Blue Shift, and how a 20-year-old video game sequence became one of the most convincing pieces of found footage the internet has ever seen. And trust me, by the time we're done here, you're going to look at every viral video completely differently. The story starts way back in 2001, when Valve Corporation released Half-Life Blue Shift, an expansion pack that most gamers barely remember today. But buried deep in this game was a sequence that would eventually break the internet 2 decades later. Players took on the role of Barney Calhoun, a security guard at the Black Mesa Research Facility, and one of the most memorable sections involved navigating through a flooded marine biology lab while being stalked by what the game called an ichthyosaur, basically a massive, aggressive aquatic creature that looked remarkably similar to an orca. Now here's where things get absolutely insane. The game's graphics were revolutionary for 2001, but they had this weird, almost documentary-like quality when viewed on modern screens. The water physics, the way light filtered through the flooded corridors, the creature's movements. It all had this eerie realism that felt less like a video game and more like security camera footage from some kind of disaster. Fast forward to 2019, and someone on Reddit, we still don't know who, posted a heavily edited compilation of this gameplay footage with a completely fabricated backstory. They called it Recovered Footage from the Triton's Crest Incident, and claimed it showed marine biologist Jessica Radcliffe's harrowing escape from a killer whale attack during a catastrophic facility failure in 1995. The post was immediately deleted, but not before dozens of people had already downloaded and shared the video. What happened next was like watching a digital wildfire spread across the internet. The video started showing up on obscure paranormal forums with titles like Real Orca Attack Footage, Government Cover-Up, and Marine Park Disaster They Don't Want You to See. Each time it was reposted, the story got more elaborate. People started adding details about Jessica's background, about Triton's Crest's history, about the supposed cover-up that followed. The genius of this whole thing was in the details that made it feel authentic. The person who created the original hoax didn't just slap together some random gameplay footage. They carefully selected sequences that told a coherent narrative story. You see Jessica navigating through increasingly dangerous flooded corridors, desperately trying to reach safety, while this massive creature stalks her through the water. There are moments where she's trapped behind glass barriers, watching in terror as the creature circles just feet away. The pacing feels exactly like real security footage, long stretches of tension broken by moments of pure terror. But here's what really sold people: the emotional authenticity. Even though this was footage from a video game, the way the character moved, the way the camera angles captured her desperation, the sheer relentlessness of the creature's pursuit, it all felt viscerally real. Your brain doesn't care that those graphics were rendered on a computer in 2001. When you're watching someone fight for their life, your fight or flight response kicks in, regardless of whether it's real or fake. Social media algorithms absolutely loved this content. The video was getting shared thousands of times a day because people were genuinely terrified and fascinated. Comment sections became war zones between believers and skeptics. The believers would point to tiny details in the footage as proof of authenticity. The way water moved, the realistic behavior of the creature, the seemingly genuine panic in the character's movements. The skeptics would argue about the video quality, the suspicious lack of any official records about Triton's Crest, the conveniently dramatic camera angles. What's absolutely mind-blowing is how many people created elaborate theories to explain away the inconsistencies. When someone pointed out that there was no record of a marine park called Triton's Crest ever existing, believers claimed it was a government black site project that was scrubbed from all records after the incident. When others noted that the video quality seemed inconsistent with 1995 security cameras, people theorized that the footage had been enhanced by whistleblowers using modern technology. The story kept evolving and getting more sophisticated. People started creating fake newspaper clippings, fabricated witness testimonies, even mock-up government documents about the supposed cover-up. Someone created an entire Wikipedia page for Jessica Radcliffe that lasted almost 3 days before it was taken down. The collaborative mythology building was unlike anything the internet had seen before. TikTok users began creating reaction videos to the footage, with some of the most popular creators genuinely believing they were watching real disaster footage. Their authentic terror and shock made the story spread even faster. When someone with 1 million followers posts a video saying, "Guys, you need to see this real orca attack footage," their audience doesn't question it. They just share it. The truth started to emerge when hardcore gamers began recognizing specific assets and textures from the Half-Life series. One YouTube channel dedicated to video game preservation posted a side-by-side comparison showing the exact gameplay sequences that had been used to create the Jessica Radcliffe footage. But even with clear proof that this was video game content, believers found ways to explain it away. Some claim that the video game had been based on real events, or that the government had deliberately created a video game to discredit the real footage. What makes this story so fascinating isn't just that people were fooled by video game footage. It's how desperately they wanted to believe in it. The Jessica Radcliffe story hit every button that makes content go viral. It was terrifying. It suggested a massive cover-up. It had a compelling human protagonist fighting against impossible odds. And it fed into our collective anxiety about humans trying to control nature. The psychological hooks were incredibly sophisticated. The story played into real fears about marine park safety that had been heightened by documentaries like Blackfish. It exploited our natural tendency to believe in government conspiracies and corporate cover-ups. And it tapped into something primal about our relationship with apex predators, that deep evolutionary fear of being hunted by something bigger and more powerful than ourselves. Even now, years after the hoax has been definitively debunked, the video still circulates on social media. New generations of internet users discover it and go through the same cycle of belief, investigation, and eventual disillusionment. Comments on recent posts still show people arguing about its authenticity, despite overwhelming evidence that it's gameplay footage from a 20-year-old video game. The Jessica Radcliffe hoax represents something bigger than just internet gullibility. It shows how our brains process narrative and emotion in ways that can completely override logical thinking. When we watch that footage, we're not just seeing pixels on a screen. We're experiencing a story about human resilience, about the consequences of hubris, about survival against impossible odds. The fact that it's not real doesn't make the emotional impact any less powerful. This whole phenomenon raises uncomfortable questions about how we consume information in the digital age. If people can be so completely convinced by video game footage from 2001, what happens when deepfake technology becomes truly indistinguishable from reality? The Jessica Radcliffe story might just be a preview of a future where the line between real and fake becomes completely meaningless. So the next time you see a video that seems too dramatic, too perfectly shot, or too emotionally manipulative to be real footage, remember Jessica Radcliffe. Remember how millions of people convinced themselves they were watching real disaster footage when they were actually looking at a security guard from a video game fighting a digital monster in a fictional research facility. Because in the end, the most terrifying thing about the Jessica Radcliffe story isn't the orca attack that never happened. It's how easily our own minds can become the predators, hunting down belief in stories that feel true, even when reality is telling us to swim away as fast as we can.